Before his death, Dean Martin revealed which actresses paid with their bodies. When the stage lights dim and the martini glasses begin to overflow in the smoky casinos of Las Vegas, the truth finally comes out. We like to think of Hollywood as a dream factory, a place where talent rises to the top and stars are born from hard work. But if you ask the insiders, the ones who really knew the game, like the legendary Dean Martin, they'll tell you a different story. To them, Hollywood wasn't a factory, it was a marketplace. And in this place of vanity, there is no such thing as a free lunch. We're about to open a brutal dossier that exposes the fragility of the line between a silver screen goddess and a high-class commodity. We are talking about 4 specific women. One was the sex bomb passed around by the elite like a toy on a banquet table. Another was a genius forced to play dumb to serve as dessert for politicians. One was a trophy for the mob. And the last one was the mouth that finally said too much. Cast aside the romantic reels and the red carpet photos. Pour yourself a stiff drink and sit down. Because the stories you are about to hear aren't just about fame. They are about the price you pay when you sell your soul to the devil, and what happens when you try to buy it back. 1. Marilyn Monroe, the menu item. If anyone was qualified to sit down, take a drag on a cigarette, and speak the naked truth about the industry, it was Dean Martin. He saw it all, the money, the power, and the flesh transactions disguised as art. And when he looked back at the golden age, the first name that came to his lips, a name that silenced the world with admiration, was Marilyn Monroe. But Dean didn't see the glamorous superstar standing over a subway grate in a white dress. He saw the tragedy. He saw a girl who had to sell herself bit by bit just to survive. To understand the real story, you have to rewind to the late 1940s. Before she was Marilyn, she was Norma Jean Baker, a poor, hungry brunette desperately looking for a foothold in a town where the studio moguls reigned like kings. For young girls with no money and no connections, the door to fame had only one key: the bedroom door. There is a cruel truth that insiders didn't hesitate to expose. Long before the flashing lights, Marilyn operated as a high-class call girl, just to exchange favors for small roles. Remember those famous nude photos on red velvet from 1949? She didn't do that for art or rebellion. She did it for a meager fee of just $50 because she owed rent and needed money for food. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. As she climbed the ladder, the transactions became more expensive. At lavish parties in the mansions of film producers, Marilyn frequently appeared not as a guest, but as dessert. Dean Martin recalled the look in her eyes during those nights. She would flash that famous radiant smile, but her eyes were soulless and fearful. She knew her mission clearly. If she wanted a line in the upcoming movie, she had to please the man sitting at the head of the table. The studio moguls called it the casting couch, but in Marilyn's case, it was a brutal meat market. It was midnight phone calls demanding she come to read scripts in private hotel rooms where there were no scripts, only powerful men waiting. There is a chilling story whispered by insiders in Vegas that Marilyn was once invited to parties hosted by underworld friends of the Rat Pack. There, she wasn't a movie star. She was a beautiful gift presented to please the godfathers. She didn't resist. She couldn't. She knew that resistance meant her career would end immediately, and she would return to being a factory worker on a starvation wage. Hollywood thoroughly exploited her sex appeal, turning her into a symbol of desire, while they were the ones who pushed her onto the path of using her body for Troy from the very beginning. Marilyn wasn't a bad girl. She was a victim of a system operating on lust. She sold herself, yes, but only to buy back a dream. But as we know, when you know too many secrets of the powerful men you've served, you become a liability. Marilyn tops this list not to be shamed, but is heartbreaking proof that everything has a price, and sometimes the price is your very soul. 2. Lana Turner, the gangster's trophy. If Marilyn was the lamb lost among wolves, our next icon was the woman who walked straight into the tiger's den. Dean Martin, who knew the underworld just as well as he knew the stage, realized that no star ventured into the dark world of the mafia as deeply as Lana Turner. Audiences loved her as the innocent sweater girl, but the real Lana was addicted to thrills. She didn't sell herself for rent money like the starlets of the 40s. She sold herself in a classier, yet much more dangerous way. She sold her fame to add prestige to criminals. Look at her most scandalous affair with Johnny Stompanato. Johnny wasn't an actor. He wasn't a director. He was a gangster, a bodyguard and enforcer for the notorious boss Mickey Cohen. He was the kind of guy Dean Martin saw standing in the dark corners of casinos, hand always resting near his hip where a pistol was hidden. So why would a top Hollywood superstar fall into the arms of a hired gun? It was a fair, albeit twisted, love contract. Johnny needed Lana because, for a gangster, possessing the most desired woman in America was a glorious achievement. He treated her like the latest Cadillac, something to show off to his underlings to prove his class. He dragged her to nightclubs and forced her to wear expensive jewelry he bought with dirty money, parading her like a prize. In return, Lana got a false sense of security and the thrill of walking beside a wild beast everyone feared. But the price she paid was her self-esteem. Backstage, the reality was horrifying. Johnny didn't treat Lana like a queen. He treated her like property. He beat her, controlled her, and even threatened to slash her beautiful money-making face if she dared to look at another man. Lana Turner, the powerful woman on screen, resigned herself to being a slave for a petty criminal in real life. She used her own money to support him, pay for hotels, and buy him clothes just to keep the beast calm. But you can only keep a beast in the bedroom for so long before it bites. The climax of this tragedy was the shocking murder case in 1958. It was a fateful night when Lana's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, unable to bear seeing her mother beaten yet again, allegedly picked up a kitchen knife and stabbed the gangster lover to death right in the bedroom. The case exposed all the sordid truths Lana had tried to hide. The world was shocked to realize their goddess was living in a mud puddle with the dregs of society. To the mafia, Lana was never truly a lover. She was a mob mall, an expensive decoration to be discarded when bored with, or worse, used to launder money. Lana traded her halo for bruises and a tragedy that would haunt her family forever. In a world reeking of gunpowder and dirty money, the value of a woman, even a movie star, wasn't much higher than a hand of cards. 3. Jayne Mansfield, the genius who played the fool. Dean Martin swirled the martini in his hand, the ice clinking like a bell signaling the end of a play. He remembered a brilliant, loud, and fleshy beauty he often met in Las Vegas. People called her a faulty copy of Marilyn Monroe, but Dean knew she was actually a tragedy of miscalculation. This was Jayne Mansfield. If Marilyn sold vulnerability and Lana sold danger, Jayne sold something much more naked: carnal presence. She was the embodiment of Hollywood's most sophisticated form of high-class service. She didn't stand on the street, but she turned herself into a living gift, an accompanying service at the lavish parties of politicians and oil tycoons. But here is the fact that makes Jayne's story so tormenting. Behind the platinum hair and the giggles, Jayne possessed an IQ of 163, genius level, comparable to Einstein. She spoke 5 languages fluently and played the violin skillfully. But Jayne, with that sharp intelligence, realized a brutal rule of contemporary society. Men didn't want to go to bed with a bespectacled female professor. They wanted to go to bed with a big-busted dumb blonde. And so, she began selling the role of her life. She played the part of the promiscuous girl ready to do anything for attention. Dean Martin witnessed her at parties in Vegas and Washington, appearing not to discuss art or politics, but as dessert for powerful gentlemen. Her mission was clear: wear the tightest dresses, laugh loud, and occasionally accidentally reveal sensitive body parts. It was an underground transaction. Tycoons paid money or privileges for Jayne to heat up the atmosphere and satisfy their egos. The fact that an aging politician could hold the waist of sex bomb Jayne Mansfield in front of reporters was how they affirmed their power. Jayne understood she was a commodity. She once said, "If you're going to do something wrong, do it big, so the whole world sees." Rumors whispered by insiders linked her to America's top figures, including names related to the Kennedy family. She was passed around the upper class as a symbol of enjoyment. But Hollywood is an ungrateful lover. When the public got bored with her stunts, she was discarded mercilessly. The genius with the 163 IQ ended up performing in second-rate nightclubs, cutting ribbons for supermarkets just to make a living. Her tragic death in a car accident in 1967, at only 34 years old, felt like a horrifying full stop to a wrong contract. But rumors have always swirled that there was something darker at play. Whispers of curses and involvement with figures like Anton LaVey. Whether it was bad luck or something more sinister, Jayne Mansfield sold her intellect for applause. And in the end, the flesh consumed her. 4. Joan Rivers, the final whistleblower. If the first 3 women on this list were silenced by their own beauty, or the men who owned them, the final name belongs to a woman who was silenced because she refused to shut up. Joan Rivers wasn't a sex symbol. She wasn't a mob mall. She was the sharpest tongue in Hollywood. And for decades, she was the only one brave enough to say what everyone else was thinking. While the Marilyns and Jaynes of the world played the role of the beautiful object, Joan played the role of the truth teller. She clawed her way up from nothing, breaking into the boys' club of late-night comedy. But just like the others, she learned that the industry has strict rules. And when she dared to become her own boss and challenge the king of late-night Johnny Carson, the punishment was swift and brutal. She wasn't just fired, she was blacklisted. For nearly 20 years, the industry tried to erase her, proving that a woman with a voice is far more dangerous to the system than a woman with a body. But Joan was a fighter. She clawed her way back, reinventing herself as the queen of the red carpet. Yet, as she got older, her jokes started cutting deeper. She wasn't just mocking bad dresses anymore. She was hinting at the open secrets of the elite. Fast forward to 2014. Joan was 81 years old, but she was sharper than ever. And then, just days before her death, she did something unthinkable. While walking out of a building, a paparazzi asked her a question about the First Lady and the President. Joan didn't give a safe, PR-friendly answer. She dropped a comment that was shocking, controversial, and according to conspiracy theorists, dangerous. She spoke about things the media refused to touch, laughing it off in her signature style. Less than 2 weeks later, Joan Rivers checked into a clinic for a routine, minor throat procedure. It was supposed to be simple, but it went wrong, horribly wrong. Reports surfaced that the medical staff made critical errors. There were whispers that staff members were taking selfies while she was under anesthesia instead of monitoring her vitals. She stopped breathing, and the woman who had survived being blacklisted, sued, and bankrupt never woke up. Was it just a tragic medical accident? A case of negligence? Or was it the final silencing of a woman who had simply seen too much and said too much? In Hollywood, coincidences happen all the time. But when the loudest voice in the room suddenly goes silent, right after sparking a massive controversy. People start to ask questions. Dean Martin set his glass down on the table. The story had ended, but the bitter aftertaste lingered in the cigarette smoke. We've looked at the fragile Marilyn, the ambitious Lana, the calculated Jayne, and the fearless Joan. 5 women, 5 illustrious icons, but ultimately, they were just pawns in the hands of powerful moguls. They traded sex for opportunity, silence for safety, and dignity for applause. People call it a fall from grace. But to those who know, it was just brutal survival. Hollywood was never a fairy tale. It was a massive business deal where women sometimes had to pay with their very lives to be allowed to shine. If time could be turned back, who among these stars do you think would dare throw away the glory to exchange it for a peaceful life? Is it the fragile Marilyn Monroe, the genius Jayne Mansfield, or the truth-teller Joan Rivers? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to continue hearing the earth-shattering secrets only the walls of Hollywood know, make sure you're subscribed. Because the story isn't over yet.